This is KC9VKV, and this is the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. From now live until 5, we are recording, and if you have a radio, you want to check out the audio, just give us a shout and we'll record it, and then within the next couple of days we'll be posting it up on YouTube. So all you got to do is go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and that will take you to the QSO-VLOG page, and on that page you'll be looking for a QSO-VLOG entitled My Group Aircheck 4519. Again, My Group Aircheck 4519. This is KC9VKV, and Charlie, do you have a copy up that way?
Yes, do you have a copy up that way?
Yes, yes I do. KC9VKV, K1T, Northern New Hampshire at Clarksville. Yes, Jim, I copy. Copy me, okay? You're very selling. About 10 over 9, directly from your QTH near Louisville. KC9VKV, K1T, Z, and an L.
Roger, Roger. Well, Charlie, right now I'm copying the Arlington, Virginia SDR, and what I'm going to try to do is, just out of curiosity, going to try if I can find my stylus. You ever look for a stylus in a bunch of pens? They all look the same. Anyway, I wanted to check out the which one was that? Gosh, I can't find. Oh, Concord, New Hampshire. Just out of curiosity. Now, Charlie, I know you think that's too close, and it may not work, but I did want to check it out just to be sure. And so let me come back and let me see if I can copy you just out of curiosity on that New Hampshire SDR.
New Hampshire SDR.
I have another antenna I can use if you did pick me up. It would favor Concord. It shoots straight up in the air, 3 elements that go straight up and would come straight down on Concord. However, I don't know any luck on it, but I think probably the skip is too long. Although your beautiful copy right here, KC9VKV, K1T, ZL.
Roger, Roger, Charlie. Well, you were right about that New Hampshire SDR. I did not have a copy at all. So now I'm just out of curiosity going to check out the Rochester, New York SDR. This is pretty interesting. I would like to find one that seems to be the best overall, you know, just in case that this band does get worse from time to time. Roger?
Worse from time to time, Roger.
Roger. One day the skip is longer than it is on other days, but I would imagine directly to you near Louisville, in actually where you are in southern Indiana, that 20 meters would be wide open. But then again, you would not be able to work the stations very well that are too close to you on that band. Okay, how are you doing now on the SDR, Jim? Go ahead.
Well, I think the winner today is the Arlington SDR. Seems to be even better than that Milford, PA SDR, which is usually, you know, you can count on that one. But today, Arlington, Virginia SDR has got it. So thank gosh, because, you know, I can just foresee that this 40 meters. Do you happen to know, Charlie, what cycle we're in as far as an improvement on 40 meters might be concerned?
Okay, by the way, the station came on just a little below us, although you're overriding it. K1GZL. I think we're getting down on the bottom of the cycle right now. Pretty well on the bottom. I don't know how much we're going to come out of the cycle. I'm not certain how much we're going to come out of the cycle in the near future, but I would guess we might have to wait at least 2 more years before it improves. But then again, as we get into summertime, the shorter skip will be better. In fact, the Q5 board, we have to use 75, 80 meters, 75 meters during the winter because the skip is way too long on 40 in the early evening. However, now that we are into spring and the days are now as long as early September, I would imagine 40 should probably be occupiable, there's a good word, usable in the early evening, starting within a few weeks to a month, but not as good as it would be if the cycle were better. But we're pretty well at the bottom of this cycle, and that's why we find that 20 meters, even 20 meters is not as into, like, say, the South Pacific as it used to be about 6, 7, 8 years ago when it was tremendous. Oh, geez. It was terrific. 17 meters was absolutely outstanding. And but now 17 is not that reliable. Yeah, you get a few openings, but the MUF, the maximum usable frequency, just drops too low again, and you have to go lower in the band, lower in frequency. So I'm hoping there'll be another sunspot cycle that will really start rising up. But I'm not that much aware of exactly when it's going to start. KC9VKV, K1G, Sedell. I'm glad you can hear me on the Arlington. Go ahead.
Roger, Charlie. Well, it's good to have the options. I'll tell you, if I were locked into just my local antenna, I think you were about even with the noise on that one. So, the band definitely could enjoy some improvement. So I'm hinting that to Mother Nature. Hopefully she's listening and she will correct her oversight on Well, we shall see. Charlie, good to talk at you this afternoon, and I'll say threes for now. Roger?
I'll say threes for now. Roger?
Okay, Jim, very, very good. Very good there. And just to give you an idea how you're coming in directly from far southern Indiana, here's a recording of how I'm copying you directly without SDR. Here it is.
The Rochester, New York SDR. This is pretty interesting. I'd like to find one that seems to be the best overall, just in case it...
Okay, there it is. Hope you could have copied that. Okay, Jim, we'll say 7-3 and try to catch you next Friday. Still have a bad antenna here on 40. And when he and VK3MO was visiting me on the 3rd of the month of April 2019. That was 2 days ago. He was amazed that I was putting the signal ID down at his place with that driven element having collapsed between the reflector and the quasi-matrix director. So he was absolutely flabbergasted. And he saw snow up here. Oh boy, do we have snow on the ground. But it's starting to slowly recede. KC9VKV, 73 Jim. Have a very good day on the band. K1G, Z, and an L.
Roger, Charlie. 3 is up that way, and you stay warm and enjoy the weather as long as you want, and then hopefully it'll change to another weather pattern that you enjoy. This is KC9VKV, and this is the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio. We are recording from now till 5, and we'll post it up later on YouTube, and you'll be able to go there and do a call it a search for KC9VKV, and that'll take you to our QSO-VLOG page. And on that page, you'll be looking for a QSO entitled My Group Aircheck 4519. which just happens to be today's date. My Group Aircheck 4519. This is KC9VKV. Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor with the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG page. And gosh, we do have 3 SDRs that we're helping, monitor the frequency for some of our 100-watt friends that, might be coming in at maybe a dB above our noise level or at our noise level. Hopefully we can find an SDR in the neighborhood that might improve the signal. This is a KC9VKV in the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. And right now we are monitoring Milford, PA SDR. That's always a good one for our Canadian friends coming this way. It's, maybe half the distance, and so sometimes that Milford, Pennsylvania SDR comes in handy. This is KC9VKV and the QSO-VLOG network. Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor. Check to see if Big Bertha's on. Kind of a quiet night on the channel, unfortunately. KC9VKV, the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. I'm wondering why I have 2 SDRs that are not operating correctly, and I can't find the stylus. You got to keep the stylus in a position by itself because it easily looks like a pin, and it's hard to find the stylus right off the bat. Now I'm just wondering. We're going to check out a few more SDRs and see what's going on this afternoon. Maybe we'll check out a Washington SDR. Oh, that's one that is, let's see here. Let's see. We'll see what's going on with this one. Check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This is the Washington DC SDR. Slightly off frequency. I don't know why that is. I've got 7188.88. Let me see if I can correct that and store it correctly. Okay, 7189. Enter. All right, and then store that. All right, now let's see what that sounds like. Oh, I see. Now I know why it was the other frequency, because this SDR comes back slightly high in tone quality. I don't know why that would be, but so that's why I was at 7188. It sounds better that way. Sounds almost human at 7188. Anyway, this is the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. We're standing by.
Alpha 3, Charlie, Queen Golf.
Alpha 3 station, come back with the call sign slowly, please, and phonetically.
Victor Alpha 3, Charlie, Quebec Golf.
Roger. And who might we have there?
Name here is Terry, and England Radio Yokohama, Terry, and I'm in close to Toronto, Ontario. Over.
Roger, Roger, on Toronto. Gosh, good to hear you, sir. You're coming in now about 6 dB above my noise level. I can't really give you an S reading because my RF in the front end of this receiver is tuned down to well below AGC compression, so the meter doesn't work when when you've got the RF turned down that low, and we do that just to make sure that our receiver is not adding any noise to the incoming signal. Roger, Roger.
Roger that. I heard you're in southern Indiana, correct?
Yeah, southern Indiana. We're just across the river from Louisville. Roger.
Usually I do. So spend some time.
Gosh, I was just checking out the. Let's see, which one is this? I think it's the Washington, D.C. SDR, and you're coming in fairly well on that one, Roger.
Very good. So it's, I'm doing like on 7,300 and 2.7 right now. I just moved here.
Copy. I think you're running the 7,300. Is that a Roger?
Roger.
And gosh, I'm just wondering if we have a prescription for those as far as getting that average peak modulation up. If you might be interested in that.
Very much so. You bet.
All right. The first thing we go is for the compressor, and we put the compressor in line at about a 3. Nothing, it's not going to bring up the cats and dogs in the next room, but it does start the fattening process for the audio. Roger.
Roger. Just turns it to 3.
All right, and then, we are looking at the ALC, and we want to be that level just at between half and 2/3 scale on the ALC, and you would do that with your mic gain control. Roger?
Roger.
So if you wanted to make a transmission there and take a look at your ALC and adjust that for half to 2/3.
Take you off a 3, Charlie tuned off. Okay, and just again.
Okay, I'm copying you now about 3 dB above noise level, so I'm trying to get your average peak modulation up there to where you have about a 3 dB dynamic range with the average peak modulation at about 85%. Roger?
Roger.
So tell me, talk to me just for a minute about your antenna system.
Right, I have a G5RV Junior, which is the smaller size because I'm just in a small lot right here, and just moved here. So it's up about, I would say 30 feet. The side's down about
Roger, Jerry kind of faded down there a little bit, did fade down just a little bit. What did you finally look at your ALC and you were running about mid-scale to 2/3? It looks like, I think the ideal position is about 2/3 on your ALC normally, Roger?
Roger.
Okay, and you did manage to take a look at that?
Yeah, and I put it down to half. I put it back to 2/3.
Okay, let's work on your EQ just a little bit. Can you go to menu settings tone?
Hold on. Yep.
All right, and what are you currently running? What mic are you running right now?
Just the standard handle mic.
Great. That's a great mic. Okay, now, and what are your readings on your tone controls?
Hold on, let me go back.
This is KC9VKV and the afternoon QSO-VLOG network. Right now we're checking Jerry out up in Canada and kind of working with his 7300, but if you want to get in, just give us a shout after Jerry clears. This is KC9VKV. Back to you, Jerry.
So the TS space and the TS coverage are both at 50%.
All right, let me come up on that mic and talk to me. You're right at my noise level, so I need to get you above it. Come up right on the mic level and mic, and tell me what your tone control settings are.
All right, so the TS space is at 50%, right in the middle. The TS coverage is the same. Over.
Okay, and also make sure that you're in the widest mode possible, that you're in the highest mode possible as far as your radio, you know?
Right, hold on. All right, put it into the widest mode possible.
Okay, you are in the widest mode now?
Yes.
Roger, because I don't see any percent in them being, anything less than all you can be, because even in QSOs and, pileups and everything, articulation is the name. If they can hear you, they can talk to you. If they can't hear you, they won't. So the more articulated your audio is, the better you are as far as them being able to hear you. And I think the widest mode possible, make sure that your upper syllabic area is at its best and not rolled off because you're in another format. So you're being all that you can be, and come back one more time with your tones. I haven't copied those. What is your top end and bottom end EQ?
Okay, the DDWI it says 200 to 2900, and it's at full. Again, the setting for the transmitted bass is at 50%, and for the transmitted treble at 50% as well.
Okay, let's do the top end, your top end EQ of your tone control, plus 2 on your top end. Roger, plus 2.
Roger, hold on.
You slip back down. Try it again.
All right, I'm plus 2 at this point.
All right, and tell me something about your radio that you really like.
Well, I haven't had it that long, but I really like the opportunity to use the filters, the total passband tuning. We worked the contest a little bit last weekend, and that was very helpful in zeroing in on frequencies on the. There's so much 2RM. It was very helpful. Over.
Roger. Okay, take 2 off the bottom end. Roll 2 off your low frequency. Roger.
Roger.
And talk to me for about 10 seconds and let me hear the new EQ.
Okay, I took 2 off the bottom frequency. This is Victor Alpha 3, Charlie Queen Golf. Over.
Roger. Now take a look at your ALC and see where you're. First off, what is your mic level?
The mic gain is at 79%.
Okay, go ahead and check out your ALC and see where you're, what you're reading on your ALC. Roger.
Roger, hold on.
KC9VKV, Jerry, did you check that out?
I'm not over the red. I'm just right at about the end. Over.
Okay, so you're a little in excess of 2/3?
Yeah, I'm probably just a little bit in excess of. Well, I'm, where the red line ends, which is Mark, I'm not exceeding that at all. I'm right within it.
Roger, well, usually I've been saying stay out of the red, but I think occasionally you could hit the red, but you don't want to be banging red all the time, Roger.
You're Roger. Yeah, it's right at the end, and as I talk a little louder, I can see it's about 2 little markers above the red line.
Oh, you are exceeding it. Well, I'd pull it back. I'd pull your level back to what did you say it was?
79.
I'd put it back to 70, and let's see what your ALC is doing at that point.
All right. Yeah. Much better, right within the right where it's supposed to be, I think.
Okay, I think that's good, and your average peak modulation seems to be about 3 dB, which is pretty close to ideal. Roger.
Thank you. So you said compression's good on this, okay?
Sorry, I missed that. The compressor should be at 3 in line, Roger.
Roger, it's at 3 and in line. Yep.
Yeah, and gosh, I wish we had a little bit better conditions, because I do enjoy copying the mail after we finish. But Mother Nature sometimes is just not cooperative.
Well, SUNSPOT 737 or something is 1737 is coming around, and there've been a couple of those SUNSPOTs. Who knows? Maybe we're pulling out of this minimum. Over.
Roger, just out of curiosity, let's try one more off the bottom end. One more off the bottom end on the tone control. This is KC9VKV in the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. Right now we're working with Jerry up in Canada on his 7300, but we'll be clearing here shortly, and give us a shout if you want to hear what your radio sounds like. Jerry, back to you. Okay, you were slightly down. Try one more time. Let me hear what your bottom end EQ now sounds like.
You're Alpha 3, Charlie tuned off. I took one off the over.
Roger, you're about now 2 dB above my noise level, but I think we got it there. I would say run with that for a while and see what response you get, and then check back in next Friday afternoon at this time if you get a chance, and we'll compare notes. Roger, Roger. Okay, and maybe give me your call sign one more time, please, slowly, phonetically.
Alpha 3, Charlie, Quebec, Germany. Victor Alpha 3, Charlie, Quebec, Germany. Was
that last phonetic Germany?
Roger, Roger.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, Jerry. You have a good day and a good weekend. Threes to you. And hopefully, if you get a chance, drop back by next Friday afternoon, and we'll see what's happening. This is KC9VKV and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio you want to check out the audio, give us a shout.
73.
Threes, buddy. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. From now, live till 5, we are recording, so if you've got a radio you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. We are recording. We'll record it, and then we post the whole hour and a half up on YouTube. And so you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor. That will take you to the QSO-VLOG page, and on that page you're looking for a QSO entitled My Group Aircheck 4519. My Group Aircheck, today's date 4519. This is KC9VKV. This is KC9VKV, nothing heard. We are running a multitudinous amounts of SDRs, 3 SDRs this afternoon. I'm having to kick some of them because they're not exactly doing what I want them to do. I'm going to pull up the Atlanta SDR and see if we've got anybody down south that might not be making the trip. This is KC9VKV. Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor. We are currently monitoring the Atlanta SDR. So if you live down that way, give us a shout. Maybe we can pull you out through the Atlanta SDR, or, you know, obviously we're running our local receiver also. KC9VKV.
KC9VKV.
Nothing hurt. You know, the thing is about the SDRs, sometimes you can live too close or too far away that the SDR doesn't get you. Usually it's like if you're in a town and the SDR is in the same town, then probably, maybe, if you're like within 20 miles of the SDR, you might make it, but otherwise you probably won't. You probably need, you know, ideally to be maybe 200-300 miles away from the SDR. So we, like I said, we run 3, and we try to run from the East Coast, from Rochester, and then come across to the middle to the Milford, PA SDR, and then we drop down into North Carolina. There's a couple down in there that we alternate with. But anyway, this is KC9VKV and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. I heard somebody back in there on the Arlington, Virginia SDR. Try it again, please.
Yeah, please.
This is KC9VKV, and we are monitoring the Rochester SDR now. See if anybody's copying the mail up towards Rochester. Coming up aboard now and on. This is KC9VKV.
This is KC9VKV.
I hear somebody back in there on my local antenna, but you're right at my noise level. But try it again. I'm listening. I'm sorry, so you're just too low. You are actually beneath my noise level. So that is one of those cases where, you know, I try to get the equalization situation going. That it's so important that you know, your articulation is just has to be right out there, because when you get in marginal situations, if your mumbles on EQ, you're not going to be understood. They can hear you talking, but they can't make out the words. So the more articulated your audio is, the better it fares in adverse conditions. And this is KC9VKV, the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. We are monitoring. We are located near Louisville, Kentucky. We're just across the river from Louisville in Indiana, and so we're monitoring at that point. We're also monitoring on the Rochester, New York SDR, and the Wake Forest, North Carolina SDR, and the Milford, Pennsylvania SDR. So we're monitoring from quite a few places. If you've got a radio you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. This is KC9VKV.
KC9VKV, this is AJ4UX.
The call sign again, please. AJ4 something?
Yes, Alpha Juliet 4 United X-Ray.
Roger, Roger. And what's the name, please?
Richard.
Okay, I got Richard. Let me write that down before I forget it. And hopefully, with any luck, I'll put your name near your call sign. Sometimes I don't do that, but and sometimes I put a line between the name and the call sign, and I totally get lost there because the line separates the two forever. Anyway, Richard, how's it going this afternoon?
Doing pretty good. The band's as usual kind of pretty good. The band's as usual kind of weird, but you're up and down. But receiving you really well into Salisbury, North Carolina. What's the name there?
Name here is Jim, Juliet, India, Mike, and the call sign is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor, Kilo, Victor. And we're located next door to Louisville, Kentucky. And this is the KC9VKV QSO-VLOG network. From now until 5, we are recording, and then we post the whole thing up on YouTube, the whole hour and a half up on YouTube. So you can go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor, Kilo, Victor, and that'll take you to our QSO VLOG page. And on that page, you'll be looking for a QSO entitled My Group Aircheck 4519. Today's date, 4519. Roger, Roger.
Today's date, 4519. Roger, Roger.
Okay, good. I'll have to look that up.
Okay, and just listening there, what radio are you running?
What radio are you running?
Well, I've got an ICOM 706
Roger, Roger. I do have you just a few dB above my noise level, though, or actually the Rochester, New York noise level. What's your location?
Noise level. What's your location?
We're in Salisbury, North Carolina. You're about 10 over 9, and QSB takes you a little bit lower than that, but you're coming in really well.
Okay, now I have an SDR in Wake Forest. I also have one in gosh, where is that? Let me bust this one down, see if I can get closer to you. Last time I checked this SDR Raleigh. I've got one in Raleigh, but it keeps coming up that I can't reach it yet. It's offline, so Nick's on Raleigh. Let me try, what was the other one there? Wake Forest. We'll see how that one's doing. It had stalled just a minute ago, so and now it's not coming up. Anyway, through the there it is. Let's see. Then the volume up, and come back and let me hear you again and see if I can copy you better on the Wake Forest SDR.
On the Wake Forest.
Yeah, well, Wake Forest is just about 15 miles north of Raleigh, so I don't know that you're going to see much difference there, Jim.
Roger. I went back to Rochester. For some reason, the Wake Forest SDR is coming up, but it's not giving me any audio. And the only thing I can think of is that perhaps somewhere it's on mute or something. I'm not real sure why, but I don't have time to really mess with it right now, so I'm just going to mark it as being offline. Anyway, so you're running that ICOM. What was the model number?
Running that ICOM. What was the model number?
It's the 706 Mark II G.
Not familiar with that one. Are you running any compression at all?
Running any compression at all?
Negative, no compression.
Roger. I usually recommend about a 3, just a token amount of compression. You can't really hear it going on, but it does start the fattening process. I don't know if you might be interested in that or not, but there's a whole sequence that we do to try to bring the radio up to about a 3 dB dynamic range, which increases your average peak modulation around 80-85%. Whereas if you're running unprocessed audio, your average peak modulation is about 30%. So if you figure, if your average peak modulation is 30%, then when you get fat, when you bring your audio average peak modulation up, and you're running between 80 and 85%, your radio sounds about 2-3 times louder, and hopefully with taste. It doesn't sound, like it's pleasurable. It's a pleasurable modulation, Roger.
It's a pleasurable modulation, Roger.
Can you tell any difference?
Gosh, I had to switch back to my local channel. Come back again. Let me listen. Gosh, we're still quite low on your. If you can copy me, the thing to do, excuse me, would be to go to your ALC, and when you're in the ALC mode, then bring your mic gain up to where your 2/3, between half and 2/3 scale on your ALC. Go to ALC and bring your mic gain up to where you're half to 2/3 on your ALC reading. Roger.
Okay, let me see if I can get into the ALC on this thing.
Roger. Now, it's not, like that 7300, man, you just tap that meter and it moves around. I don't know if that one is the same way. This is KC9VKV and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. And we are right now working on a ICOM radio, not the 7300 or the 7610, which we usually work on, but all radios are pretty much the same from the standpoint of using your ALC as your guide. That ALC will tell you what your radio is doing much better than your buddy down the street. I mean, as far as modulation is concerned, anyway.
Well, I'll have to get into the book here and check on my ALC. I haven't played with that since I first set it up about 8 weeks ago.
All right, I was just checking. Your audio sounded just a little ragged then, and I didn't notice that earlier on, so I'm not sure what's going on. Would that be a case where you could touch the S meter and it would change to different operations? Gosh, I didn't copy there. Try one more time.
I say no. This is a older radio than the 7300. I bought this in 2010, and it was not brand new that year. So you don't touch the S meter. You got all of these buttons under the meter, and you have to go through those things and go through the.
Roger, I caught you there a couple of times. You were over my noise level. It did sound distorted, and it did sound like maybe you were pushing it too hard. So that's why I'm saying that you want to your ALC will tell you what's going on there. So maybe find your book or whatever, and find out how to get to your ALC, and take a look at your ALC reading. It should be between half and 2/3. If it's hotter than that, use your mic gain to bring that level down, but you want to be ideally between half scale and 2/3 scale on the ALC. So whether you have to turn the mic up or down to get that, that's the reading that you want, Roger.
Okay, yeah, well, I've got my mic gain down about as low as it's going to go without being off.
Roger that. Well, what mic are you running, sir?
I'm using a Ohio headset mic.
Roger that. Well, what I would do maybe is move the boom away from your mouth a little bit, maybe an inch further out from the proximity to your mouth, Roger. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have real good conditions, so you know, I would like to hear you a little bit cleaner and a little bit more persistent than so far. But a lot of times, you know, we can make things happen even if we don't have a real good copy. Roger.
Yes, I do understand, Jim.
Roger. So, you know, like I say, that what do you think your mic gain is?
Well, the mic gain goes from 1 to 3.
What is the level now? What is your mic gain level?
The mic gain is at 0 now.
Okay. In terms of a clock, would it be at the 9 o'clock position or lower? Gosh, I didn't copy that at all. Is your mic gain below 9 o'clock or above? Gosh, I think we have faded out. Well, anyway, hopefully, you know, conditions will get better, and if you get a chance to check back in, because I feel like we're halfway through the operation, and the surgeon had to leave because Mother Nature said, "Get out of the operating room." Anyway, 3's that way, and maybe you know conditions will get better, and you can give me another shout, Roger. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor, Kilo Victor, the afternoon QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio, give me a shout. We are recording now till 5 and then post the whole thing up on YouTube so you can hear your audio. Probably about as pristine a recording as you're going to ever get. We've posted on YouTube. You go there and then do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and that takes you to our QSO-VLOG page. Actually, pages. We have now somewhat in excess of 500 QSO-VLOGs, but on page 1, hopefully, if YouTube is together, you'll find QSO entitled My Group Aircheck 4519. My Group Aircheck 4519. This is KC9VKV. K2ZIN coming out of Raleigh. Come back and talk to me for a minute.
KC9VKV, Kilowatt 2 Zulu India, Kingston, New York, Jim. I've just been listening serious, but I just reoriented my antenna. My high gain vertical, had problems with it. I had a neighbor help me take it down and retool it. I just wanted to see what it sounded like on the air. And we're running about 700-800 watts. Jim, the handle here, by the way, is Hank. QSL?
Roger, Hank. I've got a malfunctioning SDR. I'm actually copying you on the Wake Forest, North Carolina SDR, better than on the Rochester, New York SDR, but I can't get the volume up, and I don't know exactly why. Let me see what that does. There is a malfunction here on that SDR, and I'm not sure I can really fix it right now. Come back and let me hear you.
KC9VKV, K2ZIN. Yeah, very good, Jim. Basically, I wanted to see the AV680 was working. I've had problems with it since I put it up, and something went on it, and the spokes were not trimmed properly. But I spent about 3-4 hours on it yesterday, and it appears to be okay. In fact, it wouldn't even resonate on 20. Now it seems very good. But Anyhow, the band is not great. You were 20 over 9, now has slipped down past the about S6, maybe S7. Anyhow, I won't hold you. I know there's a lot of people that would probably love to have their signal checked out. But I don't know whether you're copying me now. KC9VKV, K2ZIN. We're in Kingston, New York, Jim.
Roger, sir. Well, like I say, I'm not. Rochester, New York is just quiet as a mouse, but I did perform surgery on the Wake Forest SDR, my SDR receiver for Wake Forest, and I did get your level up, and I know that this is not probably a correct sequence level on this. On my chevron here for this SDR, but it works. So don't hold your mouth just right, because it did work. Now, you know, on antennas, antennas are my favorite things. I've got 3 dipole sloping, inverted V dipoles, and the 40 is one of those. And I've been running 0.01, and I have found that the thing is, when you're doing your standing wave ratios and you're looking at it and you're really in a critical situation, I always try to get mine with a little not taut pressure on the dipole. In other words, a slight loop on the dipole, because when you get that SWR down to less than a 0.1 to 1, then you can control the minute SDR by just how taut that you make that the dipole. Roger.
The dipole, Roger.
Yeah, I missed the last part of that, Jim. The signal's fading drastically, and more than likely it's doing likewise. Make it gold again. Okay, and you're doing a lot of work with antennas. I'm also the same too, Jim. I have about 3 or 4 antennas. I have a beam and I have a Carolina Wyndham. And of course now the vertical, the high gain vertical, which seems to be pretty good. I'm still going to do more work on it. But the SWR on 40 is probably around 1.3 or 1.4 to 1. I probably could have spent another couple hours with the scope. It's really difficult when it's on the ground, because you know darn well when you raise it, it's going to change somewhat. QSL.
Oh, Roger, I do my adjustments with the antenna pretty much in the in the location it's going to be. What I do is, I'm sure you know what a split bolt is. Well, I cut my antenna just a tad short. And then I hang a piece of wire about maybe a foot long or 8 inches long off the end and connect it with the split bolt. And then all I got to do is nibble on that hanging wire by inch, and when I'm tuning it, I'm tuning the SWR on the negative side of the dipole, and I'm tuning the frequency on the high side. So I go back and forth and nibble, and all the time I'm bringing the dipole on frequency and reducing the SWR, and back and forth till you get into that 1.01 area. Roger.
0.001 area. Roger.
Yeah, Roger, Jim. Yeah, that's kind of interesting, actually. I never thought of the hanging a little wire there. I had it down. Oh, it was a neighbor helped me take it down. Not that it's extremely heavy, but, it's 30 feet in the air. It's kind of bulky. And I laid it on a fence ground and on the fence. And I could get to it very easily, which was kind of nice. And I ran a fairly good cable. Lengthy cable, with my MFJ SWR meter, so it was right in front of me. Otherwise, I'd have to keep going back up and down on a step, and that would be a real pain, which I've done before. But anyhow, that's a great... It's a little difficult cutting the spokes, which of course are metal, aluminum, or stainless. There's a couple of them with stainless, I think. And you got to keep pulling them out and hacking them with a saw, and then if it's too much, you got to get another one and put a longer one in. But I got it to the point where it's pretty good, and on 20 meters, it wouldn't even resonate originally when I had put it up in the air about 3-4 months ago. And yesterday, it was like 1.1, so it was pretty good, QSO.
Roger that, roger that. Well, the one I had the most trouble with was my 80 meter. It was a dipole, but it was a sloper. It went to the top of about an 80-foot tree. And then the bottom side went down to a telephone pole about 18 feet off the ground on that pole, and I could not, for the life of me, tune it. I mean, I could not get that SWR down to from a 2, and it just drove me crazy. And I attempted to do one of those. Well, I'm going to get it done today, and get up there and spend 2 hours, and still nothing. And so the last time I did that, through operator error, I lost my high position in the tree. I was using tie wraps, and because I was making adjustments, I wasn't using them real tight, and unfortunately they were a little loose, and the tie wraps, that was an 80-meter dipole, and it just pulled out, and so I lost the top 80-foot position, and so temporarily I went to the first limb of that tree, which was about 25 feet off the ground, much to my chagrin. But then all of a sudden, when I looked at my SWR, it was 1.1. And what it amounted to was that your position to ground, your relationship to ground from the high side and the low side has got to be somewhat similar. Otherwise, you can't strike a balance, So with that being a sloper, that high side was so much higher that its location to ground was just totally different from the other side, and you couldn't tune it, Roger.
Yeah, Roger, how the heck did you get it up 80 feet there, Jim?
Well, listen, I know, I was trying to think how we did that. Fly casting. I have my Ace flycaster, and it was kind of like a Babe Ruth moment. We were all out there, and I have, the last time I checked, I had at that time 35 antennas, all different kinds, UHF, VHF, Yagis, and whatnot, long lines. And he had about a 15-degree window to get to this position on the tree, and so he takes his fly cast rod and he points it up to the top like kind of Babe Ruth did, to the outfield, and I forget what he was using for a sinker. Maybe it was a spark plug. I don't know. But he threw that sucker, and man, it went right exactly to the limb that I had asked him to hit. Roger?
Yeah, QSO on that one. Yeah, not bad. A fishing rod. Yeah, well, more difficult than trying to catch fish, I guess, that's for sure. What I use, too, Jim, right now, I've got one that's up about my Wyndham. Goes off my, which is 40 feet. Away from there. And it's up around 50, about 56 feet. So it goes from 40 feet to about 50 or 60 feet. But now, I think I use a hammer to do that. Don't ask me how I did it, but I've lost a lot of hammers, Jim, so now I use it, and that seems to...
Roger, man. I just missed the last of that. I was moving between one SDR and the other. The SDR that we were on was the one I adjusted earlier, and it was started squelching out. So I have parameters that I have to set these SDRs receivers up on, and it takes a while. There are three three phases to those SDRs, and so I have a three position cheat sheet, and there's about 4 adjustments on each page, and it takes a while. So unfortunately, it's still kind of missing in action. But you know, antennas are just amazing things. They are just absolutely amazing, and you know, the whole deal revolves around skywave. There's nothing moving ground wave at all. It's all skywave. So the thing about what's your height, you know, is I don't know. You know, they say it's important, but I know I had a QSO with a guy almost Christmas Day, that he had just restrung his dipole, and it turned out that the local squirrels fell in love with the rope that he chose to support his dipole with. There was a new rope, and they just loved it, and so they chewed that thing right in half, and his dipole fell into a foot of snow. And I'm not sure what antenna tuner he was using, but he did manage to tune that antenna, that dipole, under a foot of snow. And I was talking to him he was in Minnesota, Roger.
Yeah, Roger on that. Yeah, that's interesting. You know, they do say, though, and I've heard this, I'm sure you have, that you could probably put an antenna underground, the proper, well, experimentation, of course, and work out sometimes just as well. I've never tried it, but and I don't plan on doing that either. But anyhow, yeah, you know, they always used to say, of course, transmissions, transceivers, we have several of them here. I have a lot of tube models. The one we're on now is a Yaesu FT99 and a 0. We're feeding that into an Ameritron AL572, which seems to work out pretty well. I also have a Swan 500. I have a 706 ICOM, a couple of them. And one of my favorite ones, which I haven't used in a little while, is a kind of an unusual national NCX 1000. Not too many of them made either, Jim. And boy, I've had terrific reports on that. It's
22 tube in there. There's only 2 tubes, the rest is solid state. But I can get around 600-700 watts out of it. I've had terrific audio responses from people, but they always said years back, it really doesn't matter too much what the transceiver is. 100 watts is 100 watts. Of course, audio is important too, but they always used to say, if you spend $2,000 on a rig, spend $4,000 on your antenna. QSL?
Oh, roger that, roger that. Well, it's hard to spend $4,000 on a wire antenna. I think I'm using galvanized. You know, the whole thing about metal and RF is really a joke. Because, you know, when I built Yagi antennas, I was building Yagi antennas for 2 meters. And, you know, they were saying, well, you got to use aluminum and you got to use whatever, and copper would be the best. So I said, and at that time, I was building my Yagis out of 1/4-inch galvanized, zinc-covered galvanized steel. And, you know, 1/4-inch zinc-covered galvanized steel, and these guys are talking copper. So I said, all right, I'm going to build me a Yagi out of copper. So I built the same Yagi out of copper, and A-bead between my zinc-covered galvanized steel and the copper jobber, and there was no difference. I repeat, no difference. The only difference was that you could not keep the copper elements in line. I mean, it was a joke. A wind would blow, and that copper was a soft copper, and that copper would just go every which way. So you'd spend your life trying to keep that copper Yagi aligned. Whereas that zinc-covered galvanized steel, man, it would take a tank to change those elements, Roger.
Yeah, Roger on that, Jim. Yeah, Roger. You know, yeah, what I meant before was not spending $4,000 necessarily on an antenna, but that the antenna is much more important than the actual transceiver or power. Well, power too, but I've had terrific results with just standard 100 watts or even less at times. And I built a lot of rigs years back, and I've seen a lot of different antennas too. I was in broadcast engineering. Different antennas too. I was in broadcast engineering for about 40 years. I got out of there back in '94, and boy, I had a lot of fun with directional antenna systems and all types of things. But yeah, it's important. Antennas, they're a lot of fun, and I enjoy it. I spend a lot of time too on building antennas. You know, I was just wondering as we were talking here, the one thing I've never tried, of course I've always used wire. Usually it's the twisted arrangement, but I'm just wondering how that would be if I, like a regular tubing, you know, fed naturally in the center, to see how that would work, whether it would be any different. I'm not talking about 2-inch in diameter aluminum pipe, but, you know, some regular aluminum tubing that you could get at the hardware store. You know, just put them together and see if it makes any difference when you're tuning it up, etc.
Roger. Well, you know, diameter has to do with the Q, and the Q has to do with gain. So I found when I was building my Yagis on using the 1/4-inch diameter galvanized steel that my Q was extremely high, and therefore my gain was extremely high. And on any given day, my gain was about 4 or 5 dB hotter than the typical Yagi antenna with that many elements, because my element diameter was a 1/4-inch as opposed to the aluminum, you know, 1/2-inch or whatever that is. So my average Q was a lot higher, and so my gain is, now we're talking center frequency, my gain was, you know, on any given day 4 to 5 dB hotter than other antennas with the same elements. Now the thing is, what you trade off for that, the Q, the gain, you trade off for width of band, and they were flat, man, they were flat all the way across the band, you know, and I couldn't argue with that. But how often are you out to the edges of the band, you know? And not only that, but they continued to be fairly less SWR way on past the bands, you know? Well, I'm talking about gain, I'm talking about white noise, I'm talking about listening 5 dB hotter to the signal, you know, on the mid-band frequencies, Roger?
Yeah, Roger on that. Yeah, well, you've done a lot of experimenting, Jim, for sure. And I plan on doing it. And I plan on doing a lot more as soon as the weather gets a little better. Actually, we're getting snow here right now. The temperature actually was dropping. It was 43 today. And now it's around 38, 37. So anyhow, as soon as it gets a little warmer, I'm going to start doing some experiment. We don't have a lot of space here, too, by the way. We have approach a 1/2 acre, but that, of course, is with the house and everything else on it. And we have a 5.5-acre pond, which surrounds the neighborhood. In fact, our house is the closest to the pond. One part of our house is only like 20 feet. And that's where I decided to rest my AV680, the high-gain vertical. That's where it sits now. It's about 8 feet, which they suggest. They say 8 to 10 feet above ground. And that's just where I have it. And anyhow, I'm going to put another antenna out in the front of the house. And if I put too many antennas around the house, my wife's going to hang me for one. QSL?
Roger, Roger. Well, I managed to get 38 antennas around the house. I don't recommend much more than that, because you do start to have inner reactions between antennas. I did wipe out my 440 centimeter antenna because it was our radio, because it was just too close to my 80-meter dipole long wire, or dipole. So you start to have problems when you start having a bunch of antennas and power. You know, they don't work too well. Well, listen, I've got to jump out of here, but could you come back with your call sign slowly, phonetically, one more time, please?
Why, certainly. The call sign, Jim, is Kilowatt 2, Zulu, India, November, K2ZIN. We are in Kingston, New York, which, of course, is the first capital of New York State. No longer. A lot of people around here probably never realized that it was. But, and again, the handle is Hank. The handle is Hank. Yeah, I'm going to let you run. We have company also coming in. I've got to, I put an umbrella up over our grill, Jim, because it is raining or snowing or whatever. And I've got to grill some chicken tonight. So I've got to get my body in gear here. Well, listen, you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And my best very 7-3s to you. Thanks a lot for the chat. Certainly do enjoy it. I'm not a contester. And by the way, 38 antennas. Oh, boy. I'd have to get rid of our house if I was to do that, Jim. I don't plan on doing that. Absolutely not. But 7-3s, and I'm sure we'll hook up and meet again real soon on 40 or 80 or 20. Most of the time, I'm either on 20 or 40. KC9VKV, Kilowatt 2, Zulu, India, November.
Roger, Roger, Hank, 3's that way. Yeah, I had 38 antennas, 3 towers, and 5 rotors, and a partridge in a pear tree. So anyway, it can get very complex. So finally, I had to make some decisions about my rotors. I had to, you know, these rotor cables are non-shielded usually, and I have cable runs, and I have, you know, maybe about a 4-inch cable run, and I was running my rotor leads in there too, and unfortunately they were picking up a lot of RF, and then I was bringing it right into the shack and in some very not good places for that all that RF to be. So finally I had to take those rotor cables on and just kind of isolate them towards the you know, an area that wasn't critical where I tried to figure out what to do with them, and right now I'm just bringing them back slowly but surely. So anyway, let me say 3's up that way, and thanks for the QSO. Enjoyed it very much, and if you would be interested, you can go to YouTube in the next couple of days. We'll post this. We have been recording since 3:30, and so if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page, and on that page look for Aircheck called My Group Aircheck 4519. My Group Aircheck, today's date 4519. So we'll say 3's, Hank, and you have a good day and a good weekend, and we'll catch you later. This is KC9VKV.
Yeah, very good, Jim. 4519. I'll have to check in on that. Appreciate everything. Have a wonderful day. My best 7-3s to you. Take care now.
Roger, roger. This is KC9VKV on the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio you want to check out the audio, give me a shout. We are recording KC9VKV. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor in the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program, or network, or whatever it is. If you've got a radio you want to check out the audio, we are recording, and we will be recording between now and 5, so give us a shout. KC9VKV. I did hear somebody coming back on my local antenna, but they were very light. Try it again. This is KC9VKV. I'm sorry, you were under my noise. You were under my noise there. Gosh, again, you know, that's the importance of fully articulated audio. Because when you get less than an ideal, get into a less than ideal situation, RF-wise, to where your signal, your audio is neck and neck with the noise, you want people to be able to understand what you're saying. And if your audio is not articulated, then they're not going to hear you, but they're not going to be able to understand what you're saying. In other words, they can hear, you know, they can hear the voice, but there's not enough top-end articulation to really put it together as far as what the words are. We must be, this has not been a good day for 40. Not been a good day at all for 40. But we're still trying. We got about 10 minutes left. 10 till 5. And at 5 o'clock we do turn into a pumpkin. So if you've got a radio you want to check out the audio, give me a shout. KC9VKV. Yeah, I wanted to check out something. I'm going to check out my SDR and see if I can get down to West Palm Beach. That's my hometown, and just curious. Earlier that SDR was not working, and I guess it's not working again. Wonder why. It's taking a holiday. That's an interesting idea. Maybe I should take note of that. Well, let's see here. Oh yeah, I wanted to also check out the Ontario, Canada SDR, see what we're doing up that way. I think we can, yeah, that's opening up. Come on there. No, it's not. It went halfway. I guess we're in New York if it goes halfway. Let me try the other Ontario SDR. This is we're kind of having a little interesting diversion here as we stand by for folks to join us on the network here. All right, and this is the Thunder Bay SDR in Canada. Let me see what's going on there. Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. Oh, well, we're doing about 10 over there in Thunder Bay, Ontario. KC9VKV. All right, when anybody up in Canada want to give us a shout, gosh, we've got a SDR up there listening. This is KC9VKV. I was copying somebody out of Wake Forest. This KC9VKV. Come back.
Somebody out of Wake Forest. This KC9VKV. Come back.
Well, nothing heard that time. So, anyway, this is KC9VKV, a Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. KC9VKV. Got a Kilo Alpha, come back again.
Kilo Alpha Zulu.
Kilo Alpha Golf Zulu, is that correct?
Was that correct?
Alpha Zulu.
Give me the call again phonetically, please, sir.
Please, sir.
Kilo Alpha 9 Zulu.
I got you there. What's the name?
What's the name?
Bob in Charlestown?
Charlestown.
Tom, Tango, Oscar, Mike.
Roger, Tom. And what's your location, sir?
Sir.
Charlestown, Indiana.
Well, now, I should be able to get you on my local antenna. Hang on just a second. Let me try you. Try again there, Tom. Well, you won't believe it, Tom, but I cannot copy you on my local antenna. I'm in Louisville. I cannot copy you on my local antenna, but you are making the trip from Wake Forest, North Carolina. Roger. Roger, Tom. I'm copying you on the Milford, PA. It was incorrect. I'm copying you on a Pennsylvania SDR radio. Roger.
Roger.
You know, and that's the joke. You know, you used to say, gosh, you can't get across the street to somebody across the street, so you have to get a relay from Arizona.
On that. That's why I've been trying some in-this with the 80 meters around here, but I haven't got anybody to answer.
Roger. Well, you're getting out, sir. What radio are you running?
I've got a Flex Radio 6400M, and I'm running 100 watts today.
Roger. I wish you had about a kilowatt back in the closet, sir.
Sir.
Roger on that.
Anyway, yeah, well, thanks for checking in, sir. Let me, give me that call sign one more time, just to be sure I've got it phonetically slowly.
Kilo Alpha 9 Zulu. Kilo Alpha 9 Zulu.
Roger, and you're in Charlestown, Indiana, Roger?
Roger.
All right, sir. Well, you've got one from the books. You talked to somebody in Louisville through SDR in Milford, Pennsylvania. Roger?
Roger.
It's pretty interesting.
Roger. So let me say 30, sir. Thanks for checking in. This is Jim, Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and we usually run our QSO-VLOG network on this frequency Friday afternoons from 3:30 till 5. Roger.
Roger.
Roger on that. Where can you hear the replay? Please tell me that again.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry?
Can you hear the replay of the vlog?
Oh, yes. Okay. If you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page. And on that page, you'll be looking for a QSO entitled My Group Aircheck 4519. My Group Aircheck 4519. Roger?
Roger.
I didn't copy that time, Tom. I guess conditions are shifting around. Do you copy me now? Tom, you kind of faded out of the Milford, Pennsylvania SDR, so let me say threes to you, sir, and you have a good afternoon. Enjoyed it. You're one of my local buddies there in Charlestown, so don't be a stranger. Check in if you can, or try next Friday. We usually do this QSO-VLOG network between 3:30 and 5 Friday afternoons. So threes to you, Tom, and we'll catch you later. It's KC9VKV. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, and the QSO-VLOG program network, whatever it is. It is coming to a close almost. We've got room for one more. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. KC9VKV.
Shout, KC. Kilo 4, Lima, Juliet, Echo, Mobile.
Mobile, come back with a call sign again, please, sir.
Please, sir. Yeah, Kilowatt 4, Lima, Japan, Echo, Mobile, Jim in North Carolina, over.
Oh, Roger, what part of North Carolina?
Carolina. Okay, we're in the town of Mebane, North Carolina, about 30 minutes away from Durham, close to Durham, North Carolina, Roger.
Roger, Roger, and what's the name there?
Name there? Okay, name is Jim, Juliet, India, Mike. We've talked a couple of times. Just wanted to say hello. I know the copy's not good enough to do any serious. Just wanted to say hi and 73, over.
Roger, Roger, Jim. Now I'm copying you on the Wake Forest SDR. How close are you to Wake Forest?
Well, we're probably an hour and a half away from Wake Forest. Okay.
So that would be somewhere around 90 miles or so?
Probably, over.
Roger, well, you're making the trip. That's mainly where I'm copying you. I've got a little rotary switch here that controls my audio input, and I'm running my local receiver in there. I'm running two tablets, Amazon tablets in there, and also a PC in there, and so I can check in about a second and a half. I can check all my SDRs, all my inputs to see which one is the hottest. Roger.
Roger. Yeah, Roger. I've got you about a 5 and 7, here in the truck, running a Corsair 2 10-tech, and it's got a little electric hand mic over.
Roger. Well, you got the best mic in your hand there. That condenser mic, even though it is electric, has got a very nice articulated top-end audio, so the clarity is just beautiful. Roger.
Roger. Oh, well, thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate it. And you got to be a nice fellow since your name is Jim. Hi.
Why, of course. Of course. Well, listen, let me jump out of here. Give me your call one more time, slowly.
Slowly? Okay, Kilo 4, Lima, Juliet, Echo. Kilo 4, Lima, Juliet, Echo. Roger.
I got you that time, sir. I've got a little QRM coming off the somebody's there, probably a click off or 2 clicks away. I don't know why they would do that, but anyway, I'm sure I'm giving as good as I'm getting, so we have to do what we have to do, I guess. Anyway, Jim, three's that way, sir. Thanks for checking in, man, and you have a real good evening and a real good weekend, and we'll say threes for now. Roger.
Roger. Roger. Same to you there, Jim, and we'll catch you again. KC9VKV, K4LJE.
Roger. And this is KC9VKV completing another day at the radio. This is the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network, and we've enjoyed it. We're rapidly now turning into a pumpkin since it's after 5. We'll say threes all, and we'll see everybody next Friday afternoon at 3:30, and we'll do this thing again again, and we'll repeat one more time. If you got to check into our QSO-VLOG network this afternoon, you'll go to YouTube. Within the next couple of days, I'll have this uploaded to YouTube. So you'll go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page. And on that page, you'll be looking for a QSO-VLOG entitled My Group Aircheck 4519. My Group Aircheck 4519. So with that, we'll say three's all. We'll catch you later. This is KC9VKV Clear.